Hi there, my name is Yvette Whitwam and I'm the founder of Beanstalk HR, which is a West Yorkshire based HR consultancy. And I'd like to talk to you about a new service from Beanstalk HR called the Pod. So, the Pod is an HR membership which is primarily aimed at those who don't have their own in-house HR. And they want to ensure that they've got all their HR resources, so their policies and procedures and things, all up to date and compliant with employment law, but they've only got the very occasional need for an HR consultant for wider work. Without a dedicated HR partner, your business could be open to risk from compliance oversights due to out-of-date policies or procedures or lack of management knowledge. And from time to time, you might also need some expert advice and support on things like recruitment or tricky employee issues, or it's like sickness absence, for example. The Pod provides an alternative to those expensive impersonal HR subscriptions with those lengthy tie-ins. So, for example, some popular national providers of HR support, Peninsula and Krona, offer their packages at minimum for £140 a month. And in most cases, you're tied into those for 5 years. With the Pod, you don't pay for what you don't use, but if you do need to engage us for some HR consultancy, you get a discounted rate with Beanstalk HR. We also partner with Breathe HR if you require HR software. Beanstalk believes that the keys to success, like great organisational culture and employee engagement, needn't be the preserve of large organisations with big budgets. The Pod is an HR membership with a learning and resource hub for people managers priced at just £30 a month. I'm passionate about developing people managers to get the best from their employees. So often people fall into accidental management, either because they're an entrepreneur or they're really good at their day job and get promoted. They might have been in the job for a long time, worked their way up the ladder, but often they're left unsupported in getting those key skills that they need to really engage their employees. And that's so important. So let's take a little look why. So according to Glassdoor, companies with engaged employees outperform those without engaged employees by up to 202%. There's loads of research out there about employee engagement. But another sort of set of figures that we've got here is, according to Gallup, the top quartile for companies with engaged employees have 41% lower absenteeism, 59% lower employee turnover, 70% fewer safety incidents, 17% higher productivity, and 21% higher sales. So what's not to like, really? Who's not going to want that? So what is employee engagement, I hear you ask? Well, putting it simply, it's an approach to people management and leadership that's focused on achieving employee commitment to the organisation's goals, values and success. So it's getting that buy-in from your employees. Recognising its importance, the Department for Business Innovation and Skills commissioned Engaging for Success, which is often commonly known as the McLeod Report, and that concluded that the common factors in all highly engaged organisations were what they called the 4 enablers of engagement. So these are visible, empowering leadership who provide a clear strategic narrative, engaging managers who focus on their people, treat them as individuals, and coach and stretch their people, employee voice, so that's when employees are not seen as a problem, but rather as central to the solution, to be involved, listen to, and contribute their experience, expertise, and ideas. And also, finally, organisational, easy for you to say that, integrity. The values on the wall are reflected in day-to-day behaviours, so there's no say-do gap. What you get is what it says on the tin from your leaders and your management. So key to ensuring that all these enablers of engagement are in place are your people managers. And a quote that I really like from one of the subjects of the research said, "The line manager is the lens through which I see the company and the company sees me." I really like that. I think that really kind of hits the nail on the head for me. So how's the Pod going to provide support to your people managers to help them engage your people? For a start, if you join the Pod, you can get a bespoke handbook and employment contract at less than half our usual price. But the key thing with these crucial documents is that as long as you stay a member, we promise to keep these up to date. So when employment law changes, your policies are updated by us to reflect that. Now, this is so important. I've come across many organisations where they've paid for documents in the past and they've kept using them year on year without a review. And over the course of the years, things have changed in employment law, and they're putting themselves at risk by using these outdated documents. You will get a free HR Essentials audit, so you can identify what essentials you are missing and discover how you can add value through your people. You'll be able to pick up the phone to a CIPD qualified, experienced HR professional for pragmatic, tailored advice that's tailored to your business. You'll get monthly updates on employment law and best practice, and that'll be through our newsletter, through our mailing list. You'll get template documents, or you'll have access to template documents on an online manual, and they'll also come with guidance on how to use them. If there are any documents that aren't there, you'll be able to request them. You'll get a discounted rate for ad hoc HR consultancy with Beanstalk HR. You can provide all of your HR needs, from disciplinary investigations to training. Here's a list of services that we do provide. It's not exhaustive, but as you can see, there are many different services that you might require as an employer. Now, you'll also have access on that online manual to short info webinars on some key HR topics. So you'll be talked through the whys and hows of best practice. Again, these are in the online manual, so you'll be able to find them whenever you want them. And I'm going to give you a little snapshot now of the sort of webinar you can expect. So I present to you checking employees' right to work in the UK. Okay, so to start with, employers must carry out right to work checks before employment to ensure that candidates are legally allowed to work in the UK. They must also ensure that they carry out follow-up checks on any existing employees whose right to work in the UK is time limited. It is illegal for an employer to hire an individual in any capacity if they're disqualified from carrying out the work in question by reason of their immigration status. Right to work checks can feel onerous, but it's really important to ensure that the Home Office guidance is followed and that you've done it carefully and accurately, and that you keep records to avoid some quite really harsh penalties. So what happens if you don't do this properly? In cases where illegal working is discovered and right to work checks have either not been carried out or have been carried out incorrectly, the most likely outcome is a fine, and that can be up to £60,000 per employee. It's just tripled from 20,000, and there's no limit on the number of fines that can be issued to a business. But employing illegal workers is not just a civil matter. You can be put in prison if you've known that you've employed an illegal worker, and it's up to 5 years imprisonment and an unlimited fine. There's also the risk of potential reputational damage to the business. The Home Office releases quarterly reports in which they name and shame employers that have hired illegal workers. They're available publicly. Another repercussion is that employers who have a sponsor license in place lose that sponsor license, preventing them from recruiting or continuing to sponsor any migrant workers. And then obviously you've got the impact on those individuals who've been employed under that sponsor license, who then lose their ability to work in the UK and lose their visa. Company directors can also be disqualified. So for many reasons, it's really important to get those checks done properly. Since 2021, the numbers of raids and penalties issued have been steadily rising, and raids on employers can be as a result of the Home Office either being tipped off, or they can be just routine random visits. A quick look at the latest stats in my region show that in the main, these are very small businesses such as restaurants, pubs, convenience stores and news agents that are being fined. And once a business has a reputation for flying by the seat of their pants, think about how their customers will perceive their integrity or their compliance with other laws. So, if you're a restaurant and you don't follow the employment legislation, do your customers trust that your food hygiene is good? So, Common pitfalls then, before we go on to talk about how you do the checks, there's some pitfalls to avoid. Now, I'd say the most common one that I've seen is that employers don't ask for the right thing. They'll ask an employee to send them a photocopy of their passport as a bit of a shortcut to doing the check. You mustn't accept copies, you must see the actual documents. Those records, you take a copy, but you must date that record to show when you took the copy. It should be done before employment and make it a condition of employment that, that they have the right to work in the UK. And then also you need to make sure that you set reminders for any that run out after a period. You must also ensure that your right to work checks don't fall foul of race discrimination laws. So some examples might be refusing to employ anyone who wasn't British, or failing to interview someone on the assumption that they would not have the right to work in the UK. Or carrying out right to work checks on, only employees of particular races or nationalities. So you need to be careful with that. So then, to do it right, first of all, you need to refer to the government website, which has got full and up-to-date lists of the accepted documents for right to work checks. You need to familiarise yourself with these. For British and Irish citizens, unless you pay for a service to do this for you, you're going to need to do a manual check. For non-British or Irish citizens, you'll likely be provided with a share code. Now, this is a top tip and really important. Never accept a printout of a share code report from your employee, as this is not sufficient to prove the right to work. You must take a share code and the date of birth and generate the report yourself. When you've downloaded the report, make sure the applicant is who they say they are by comparing the picture on the report with the person you've got in front of you. You'll need to take a copy and date it, and you should store this securely, electronically or in hard copy, for the duration of employment and for 2 years afterwards. The file must then be securely destroyed. These employees may have end dates on their right to work, so again, you must conduct follow-up checks if you want to employ past that date that you're aware of. To do a manual check, you need to have sight, as I've said, of the correct original documents and the employee. Due to stricter rules around immigration and work visas, British and Irish passports have become the identity document of choice for fraudsters. So familiarise yourself with passport security features to make sure you know how to spot a fake. Again, copy and date the documents and store securely. And that's it. So that webinar will be found on the online manual with relevant template documents and links. So for in this case, for example, there'd be a template checklist for use pre-employment, and there'd be a link to those all-important government guidelines that tell you which documents you need. So that's just a little snippet of what you'll get if you join the pod. I really hope to see you there. But for updates on the official launch and an exclusive discount, you can sign up to join the waitlist by scanning this code if you've not done so already. And in the meantime, if you're interested in any other HR consultancy services, then please do get in touch at beanstalkhr.com. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.